We will now move to Dr. Samuel Cotton. Mr. Cotton is a journalist and executive director of the Committed Against Slavery in Mauritania and Sudan, COSMUS. Mr. Cotton has just returned from Mauritania with a film of slaves serving their masters. Mr. Cotton.
Yes, good evening or good morning. My name is Samuel Cotton. I'll come right to the point on this. I'm a PhD candidate at Columbia University. I'm a contributing writer to two New York City newspapers, the City Sun and the Daily Challenge. I conducted from December 23rd, 1995 to January 17th, 1996, ethnographic research in the countries of Mauritania and Senegal. Now, I began in Senegal following the path of secondary research which was conducted by Human Rights Watch, Africa Watch, and a number of human rights organizations to interview refugees who had been thrown out of that country in an ethnic cleansing program based on race by the country of Mauritania. My decision to interview them revealed this information, that one, that of all the refugee camps, and I visited 4 refugee camps, the consensus in those refugee camps is that slavery continues to exist, not in the same form that it did approximately a decade or so ago, but in a covert manner. But it is still flagrant, it is still massive. That is the consensus of the refugees on the other side of the Senegal River. There was also research which was done by Dr. or Professor Agabou Diallo, who is a Mauritanian scholar, and that is that Mauritanian Moors bring their slaves across the Senegal River with them to work in their businesses and in their homes. This was verified by me because I located one of those homes, filmed the individual in that home, interviewed them in Wolof with an assistant. The criteria that human rights organizations use to identify slaves in that culture are a black of Mauritanian origin living with a Moor, he works for free, and he has restriction to the rest of the community. This criteria was met, and this substantiates the anecdotal information that came from a number of other individuals in Senegal that there are black slaves in the businesses and homes of Mauritanians. Now, with that particular data, I crossed over on January 2nd into Mauritania, spent 10 days conducting further research. Interviewed the leaders of the two anti-slavery organizations, both Haratines, which would be identified as individuals who are free slaves. They are functioning in the pattern of Frederick Douglass in the terms that they were former slaves who had run away, received education by various means, and have now put their lives on the line to lead slaves and free slaves into a more equitable arrangement with their country. With them, I also interviewed in Underground Railroad type arrangements that are familiar with us with our customs of runaway slaves hiding from their masters. Interesting ethnographic pattern is that there are a number of these women who run away, and they run away leaving their babies. The masters hold the children and allow them to go. Starvation and a lack of governmental support and activities cause these people to soon begin to drift. Slave masters know where they are, such as in major cities like Nokchuk, and they show up and take the slaves back into bondage. And that's why human rights organizations give you very strange designations of part-time slaves, full-time slaves, and slaves. This country has been at the business of presenting cosmetic appearances of slavery ending for the past century. 1905, 1961, 1981. The problem that exists right now is that the State Department's information on this is that only the vestiges remain. This is a scientifically ridiculous statement. There are no studies done by accredited organizations like the London Anti-Slavery Group to verify any interviews, any census counts, any literature, any material gathered from slaves indicating that this is over. The vestiges of slavery, this is full-blown, covert, and intelligent moral virus that operates in that country in full blast. It is there. Any litmus test that one wants to place on it would have to be in the character of the activities that took place after the Emancipation Proclamation, after Congress argued 2 years in this country for a Freedmen's Bureau. The Freedmen's Bureau was a concrete way of approaching the aspect of slavery so that individuals would not be recaptured, would not drift because of economical reasons back into slavery, and even the concrete measures of the Freedmen's Bureau of 1863 failed because of proper funding. So, without a concrete, measurable interventions supervised by international auspices, this virus of slavery, this cultural apparition of blacks being the chattel property of Arabs will continue along the belt. In 1994 State Department report that Tuaregs traveled with their slaves across from Mali after and battle contacts with the Gondokoi and the Bella people who are resisting the past of slavery. UN observers state that 10% of the 80,000 people who traveled across were slaves. That's 8,000 slaves were in those camps as of 1994. Slavery is a fact in these countries. As to whether African American communities in the United States and the international community will do anything is the question. But it is verified by many scholars. Primary and secondary research is abundant. Now it is a moral question as to whether or not this is an accepted fact to enchain, enslave, and breed a man and woman, or whether because of the color of these individuals and the power and fear that is generated in the world today because of this threat will be the impetus or the force to keep the most heinous violation of human rights, that is to buy and sell and breed a human being, as to whether or not this will continue. Thank you.